in the field.
You said taking that day to write up the playbook, but with news, stuff is constantly happening, and sometimes you have to throw that playbook out the window and report what's going on at the present moment. How often does that happen?
On a different scale of news, almost every day. Not necessarily big breaking news where your entire show is tossed off the air, but you might have a breaking news, a crash, or this or that, and that might take up 30 seconds, minute of your show, where then you have to then get rid of content that you already had, produced that you throw out.
Now, when you get rid of that content, will you report on that the next day, or is that gone?
It's pretty much gone. Unless there's something to build on it, there's an update on whatever that story was. People have different methods to get their news. So they're not actually just watching us, on TV. Our brand now and most media, you have access. We have our website. We have our social media. So people are just getting their news constantly throughout the day, not just during our show.
How much of the content that you write and come up with is going towards the social media and going towards the website?
I would say 100% of it. Either with what I'm doing, our web editors will use, or stories that they've sort of already done for the day. It's sort of a mix-up together. Like, everyone's sort of working. We don't really have, like, a linear job anymore. We're all just working for all the different mediums.
So if those clips by chance get cut off of the evening news, do they make it to Twitter or to YouTube or other social media outlets?
The story definitely itself. Obviously, the video will no longer, with just say, for example, during our show, with Jim reporting it, obviously doesn't exist anywhere because we didn't air it. But they may cut raw video, or our web editors now too, and social media editors actually voice over content themselves as well.
Is that frustrating when stuff that you work on gets tossed to the wayside sometimes?
No, I think it's just part of the job, and now doing it for 18 years. No, it's just part of, and you know what? It's also what makes it interesting. I do the same thing every day, but it's not the same thing every day because you never know what's going to go on in the world. You
said you've been in the game for 18 years. How much has social media changed that game?
In my job specifically, I'm sort of doing the same thing, but I'm also contributing to the different media. And it also is making us as television producers think in different ways, because we can use the content not only on TV, but in long form. We can go along to our web editors, our social media. If we weren't able to use all the parts, pieces of video, or there might be something else interesting that they may be able to take and use in a longer form piece, it's just making our stuff useful that may have never been seen the light of day. That,
might make you feel a little bit better that, it doesn't go completely to the wayside then, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's more ways, it makes you think as producers differently, not just on TV, but how can this content be used on Facebook, on Twitter, on the website? And we have people that actually, work all those different pieces, but we work with them and vice versa.
Being in the game 18 years, and I was, drove down to visit you in Arkansas when you first started. When you got into the television business, was the goal always to be a producer, or did that kind of develop as you got into the industry?
No, for sure. I went to school. I went to Boston University and studied broadcast journalism. That was always a thing. But I wanted to be a reporter. Even in high school, we had classes. I took television course in high school, and I wrote for the paper in high school. But I wanted to be a reporter because that's what you always saw on TV. And then once I got into college and, got to see everything that goes behind the scenes, had several internships and got to work behind the scenes. I wasn't a reporter. I worked the assignment desk. I got to go out with reporters and see their job as well. And I sort of really liked the behind the scenes, but, in my mind too, I was like, am I giving up on an original goal of being a reporter? So when I went to go apply for positions after college, I did apply for reporting positions. I applied to producer positions. I was sending all over the country, anywhere I would take a job. And the best piece of advice I actually got from one of my professors, and he said, your first job doesn't define you, but, getting a job as a producer, it's in the industry. It's in what I've studied, what I, spent 4 years doing in college. And producing was the first job that came along. So I did pack up, went down to Arkansas, and I didn't look back. It was actually producing. I love doing it. I have a hand in every story that's going on during the day, whereas, the reporter has their one story they're working that day. And, I get to manage and work with people. And in the end, I feel like producing was sort of the end game, but, I had to find my path, and I'm still in the career that I wanted to be in, but it was, just got there a little differently.
Do you ever think about getting in front of the camera?
No, not anymore. Not at all.
Not at all?
I think my dad likes to tell a story that once I was down in Arkansas, my dad said something to me like, oh, he's not giving up on reporting. And to him, he says that I told him, I'm a producer, don't ask again.
Now, in school, having the goal of wanting to be a reporter and then getting into the industry, and your first job opportunity was as a producer, do you feel that Boston University prepared you for that position even though you wanted to be a reporter?
Oh, yes, because all of our classes, we took the basic writing classes. We had a, liberal arts education to begin with, so you had that base, and then once you got into your broadcast journalism studies, you took the writing courses, you took the production classes, and, we did our own little TV news, and you had to work all the positions. So everyone got a taste of everything that was going on. And then extracurricular, I did a show called Inside Boston. It was sort of like a news magazine, longer form piece. So you got to do all that sort of stuff outside too. And I did some reporting with that as well.
With that and becoming a producer kind of on the spot, you were prepared and you had a good base, but how much was learning on the job and learning as you go and learning, in Arkansas, learning in Orlando, and even now in Philly?
Yeah, I think if you aren't learning every day, I think it's your end game. But when I took the job in Arkansas, and I was like, where is Arkansas? I know we had a president that came from there, but, sort of got out the atlas. I was, just finished college in Boston, had just returned to New Jersey and put everything away. And now getting out the map, my first boss, she told me when I was, going back and forth, she's like, this is the place, because it was Market 107. There's different size TV markets. That was Market 107 at the time, I believe it was. And she's like, you know what? Not that we want you to make mistakes, but this is a place where you certainly come and you make those mistakes. And it's a little bit liberating, when someone says that to you, and you try hard not to make those mistakes. And each place I've been, Arkansas and then Orlando, just the different people you work with, you're learning every day from their sort of experiences and their professionalism.
If Arkansas is in 107 market, what is a city like Philadelphia, or even more so New York or Denver, where we are?
Oh, geez, Denver, I think is definitely top 10. Philadelphia's market 4 and New York's 1. So it's New York is market 1, LA is 2, Chicago 3, Philly is 4.
Oh, okay. Cool. And then speaking on those mistakes, everyone probably is familiar with like the Bill O'Reilly blowout where he just goes off the Richter. And we've seen other ones. You could pull them up on YouTube where reporters or newscasters slip up and they drop an F-bomb or they end up cursing. Do you have any does Jim slip up like that, or is he just a black belt?
Jim is definitely a black belt. He they have their moments like quirkiness between he and Cecily and Deuces Rogers, who is the sports guy. They like to have fun on set sometimes.
Did you say Deuces?
Deuces.
With a D?
D-U-C-I-S. Yep.
All right. Right on. Respect.
Yeah. So they like to have fun. So sometimes it's almost like they're having like an inside joke. You're like, hey, we're all over here. But I do have a story from back in Arkansas.
Let's hear it.
One of not that someone lost it, infuriated, but it was a funny story. It was a help story, and our anchor could not say circumcision. And it just went on and went on to like another story, and she just had this laughing fit. And finally, after like a minute, I'm like, okay, we have to roll the break so she can compose herself and come back. But just mostly I had funny stories. I've never had someone really go off or drop an F-bomb.
But you're in their ear
that.
The whole time?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, like in that situation where she's cackling because she can't say circumcision, are you telling her to breathe or get it together?
I'm like, are you okay? And like, you'll actually, I do have a clip of it somewhere on a tape. You can hear it. Like, obviously, I'm like, okay, are you okay? Should we go to break? And I mean, she literally says, no, I'm fine. And then, but she's still laughing. And then finally, I was like, okay, director, go to the break.
Oh man, it's like I think it was like Tom Brokaw. One of them, he said bukkake because he couldn't. It was like a city.
Yeah.
It was like a city in Iraq or Afghanistan or something. So,
there's definitely some times with like names of cities. Even though folks here know, they've been here forever, so they pretty much know all the cities. But names of people and stuff like that always makes it interesting.
Yeah,
people have a lot of unique names these days.
Yeah, I'd imagine you have to do a lot of prep when you're dealing with stories that involve individuals or strange or different locations outside of the city.
Yeah, and that's all fine and well, if it's a normal scripted newscast, but when you have breaking news and things happen, sometimes that doesn't help.
So being in broadcasting in mainstream media for 18 years now, are you into conspiracy theories at all?
No.
No? I'm just curious. It's a big thing, and we've had some pretty interesting guests on. So I was interested to see what your perspective was on those sorts of things. Not necessarily like conspiracies in the media, but certain things that get put out there, in terms of, like you mentioned, Arkansas with the Clintons, and then just recently we had Jeffrey Epstein was committed suicide when he was on suicide watch. So we get a little deep into those things and can go down to some rabbit holes, and then also just with the landscape of our government and our politics, where our fearless leader is constantly pumping and pointing at fake news and this and that and those sorts of things. I was just curious, like, are there obviously there probably are, but are there people within your department or who you work with that support someone like that, or what's the landscape look like? Are there Trump supporters in mainstream media?
Oh, I think so. I think everyone and maybe not ardent supporters, but Republican. I don't think everyone, the conspiracy that everyone in news is a Democrat, holds weight. And obviously, we are human. We have our own opinions, but it's kind of a setting the fake news